Hi, everyone, and welcome back. So, today we're going to take our first look at playing virtual instruments in Soundtrap. And we're going to start our exploration looking at the virtual synthesizers. So, you may have heard the word synthesizer before, but not be actually sure what it means or what a synthesizer actually is. So, a synthesizer is nothing more than an electronic keyboard that can program different sounds into each keystroke. So, what's interesting about Soundtrap is it contains a wide variety of all sorts of different virtual instruments. But within our virtual synthesizers, there's a lot of different voices that we can use, a lot of different sounds that we can access. And we can play the keyboard in a lot of different ways, even if we don't have a keyboard like a MIDI keyboard or anything to attach to our Chromebooks. We can play them even using the keystrokes on our actual keypad, which we're going to explore today. So get yourself into a blank Soundtrap project. And once you do that, come on up and call this one virtual. You can call it synthesizers or just synths if you'd like, whatever works best for you, and give that a save. So in today's practice and in today's looking at this, you're going to be asked to do an improvisation. And I'll talk about what that means in just a moment. But in order to access those different synthesizers, we can go about it in two different ways. We can simply come over here and click the play the synth button right here. And when I do that, you'll see that this piano keyboard comes right across my screen. All right, that's the most efficient and quickest way to do it. And I can X out of this. The other way, I can come over to add new track right here. And then I can come down and click synth and I'll get the same thing. All right. So just because I want to start fresh again, and I'm actually going to take away my camera view right here because it's going to take some of the real estate on my screen. I'm going to come over here and click play the synth. So what I have is a section of a keyboard right here. And as we know, we have two different types of keys whenever we have a piano or a keyboard. We have white keys and we have black keys. And we notice that our black keys are sectioned off in groups of 3 and in groups of 2. Our white keys correspond to the letter names in the musical alphabet. So, as you know, every note has a letter name that's associated with it, A through G. And those letter names by themselves, or the naturals in our letters, are all represented in these white keys. And these black keys are our chromatic keys, or our sharps and our flats. Okay. And you'll notice that right here, I have 2 white keys next to each other on one side of my group of 2. And on the other side of my group of 2, I have 2 white keys listed here as well. So I know that this is a B right here, even though there's an M that's associated with this key. We'll talk about that in a second. And here's a C. There's a natural half step in between these 2 notes. And just like that, I move over here to where my Q and my W are listed in here. This is actually an E and an F musically. Which brings me to my next point. If you are comfortable reading music, and especially if you play the piano, this might drive you nuts since we're using the keystrokes, because the letters on the keystrokes do not correspond with the letter names that are being played every time I play it. For instance, a moment ago, I said that this note right here with a Q on it was actually an E. So I'm going to press the Q, but I can see right above the Q right here, an E appears, letting me know that I am in fact playing an E. Same thing when I hit this W right here. When I hit the W, an F comes up because I'm actually playing an F. All right. So that's one thing that I can do. I can also, if I want to, I can click on any of these keys and also sound the synthesizer by doing it that way. So be sure you take some time to go in and play both on the keyboard itself, on your Chromebook keyboard itself, I mean, and also by clicking some of these keys. And as you just heard me do, I can play notes at the same time, and I can create chords. I can do pretty much everything that I can normally do on an electronic synthesizer or keyboard or on a piano itself. So as promised, Soundtrap offers us a lot of different voices and a lot of different options when it comes to these synthesizers. So if I want to change the octave that I'm working with, or if I want to change the range of my actual keyboard, I can come over here to this octave and I can slide myself over. All right. So that I have the full range of the keyboard. All right. So moving down all the way to the bottom, this is where, if I were playing a piano, my left hand might be playing. All right, and I can move up slowly. And I can see that the more I move to the right, the higher the pitch becomes of my keyboards. And I believe that this is where I started. Another important thing right here is the sustain button. If you play piano, you know that you have a sustain pedal right at the bottom of the piano. This, by highlighting it right here, becomes my sustain pedal, essentially. So if I don't have it toggled on and I hit this M, for instance, it only lasts for a couple seconds. But if I put the sustain on, it lasts for a little bit longer. And then there's other voices in here that lend themselves to sustaining more than others do. All right. So if I press right here, if I want to explore the other voices, I can come to this rectangle right up top. I can just give it one click, and it takes a second for it to pop up. And now I have all these different voices, all these different sounds that I can play using the synthesizer. For our purposes today, I want us to stay limited to the keys and the synths right here. All right. So I'm going to go down to synths, and I'm going to take a look right here in this second column, and I can see all the choices that I have open to playing the synths: bells, brass, effects, leads, legacy, miscellaneous, orchestral, pads, plucked, rhythmic, synths, and voice. I'm going to come over to pads. Oh, look there. Legacy. That's interesting. Attack Me. Well, that's just an interesting. Bells in Agony. Berlin Lead. So some of these Crybaby. Some of these are really interestingly titled. Plucked. Cyber Duck. Dark Pluck. Brass. Amazon Brass. Jump Brass. Miscellaneous. 8-bit intervals. Dubstep Growler. Disco Strings. There are so many different things that I can choose from. I think I will choose leads, and just for fun, I'm going to see what Jeepers Creakers sounds like. And I'm going to just get a preview of it by pressing this play button. Not so sure I like that. All right, let me go down to Legacy. Attack Me. Well, that seems fun. So I'll choose Attack Me. So I'll click away from it, and now I have... This is interesting. So when we get to this point in the project, when you're exploring some of these voices, I do want you to make sure that you have 5 to 10 minutes of time just to go through the various voices that you can find for the synthesizers, and choose one that you really like and that you'd like to do an improvisation with. Now, what I mean by improvisation, what does it mean when we improvise anything in life? All right. Don't even think about music. Whenever you improvise anything, it means that you're making something up as it goes along, okay? When a lot of times when you're having a conversation with somebody else, you need to improvise your words and your ideas, because often you don't know what another person's going to say. So a conversation, just a social conversation between two people, is a form of an improvisation because you're making it up as you go along. Now in music, especially in jazz music, but in music, we have things that we call improvisations, where whoever's playing or singing or creating the music is making things up as they go along. I mentioned a second ago jazz music. We tend to hear this in jazz solos, where a player will stand up at the time when they are playing their solo, and they make it up as they go along. They make the melody of the solo up as they go along, following certain musical rules. Okay. Now today, you're going to do a 15-second improvisation using your favorite virtual synthesizer voice, using 3 notes. Okay. Any 3 notes that you like. All right. So I've chosen this, and I'm going to take my webcam away one more time so I have all this real estate here to work with. I've chosen this Attack Me voice right here. And I'm going to come down, and I'm going to notice that to the left of my record key right here, I have a clock that's going to be able to tell me how long 15 seconds is. And I also want to click the record button right here so that I can record my improvisation. All right. So again, I'm just going to choose my 3 notes. It doesn't matter which 3 you choose. I'm going to choose 3 that are right next to each other. So maybe I'll do B, C, and D for notes. So here it looks like M, comma, and period. I'm going to choose, again, 3 notes that are next to each other, but you don't need to do that. So when I come down, click record. It's giving me my 8 beats. Now watch the clock. I went a little over, and that's okay if you do too. So once I have that set, I'm going to X out, and I'm going to see my recording right here. So when I bring it back to the beginning, all right, and you heard what that sounded like, so I don't need to play it again for you. Now, I'm going to save it immediately because anything I do is worth saving, and anything you do is worth saving. And I'm also going to bring my webcam back on. All right. So one of the really great things that we can do in Soundtrap is once we record into Soundtrap, we can edit it and we can make changes, just like we did with the recordings of our voice that we did for the last project. So all I need to do is I need to come over here to my recording and double click on it. And what happens is I get what's called the piano roll. And I can toggle back and forth between seeing the keyboard by pressing instrument and going back and clicking the piano roll. So what this is it's essentially a grid of all of the keystrokes that I hit when I played my 3-note improvisation. I'm going to zoom in again so I have more real estate. So I can come back to the beginning. So I can see my sequencer bar now is following along on all those squares right here. So let's say I don't like that. I happen to like it, but let's, just for sake of argument, say I don't like it. Let's say I wished that I started these 2 notes on this pitch right here, on this pitch that I'm on. Go back. What I can do is I can edit my recording right from here. All right, I'm going to bring it up because this was a change I decided that I wanted to make. All right. All right. So again, I sort of liked the way I had it before. So I can Control Z what I had before and I can bring it back. But I can do different things to my recording. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to end here and bring this one down. All right. Let's see what I've got here for my ending. All right. So there are a lot of different things that I can do with changing the pitch in the piano roll to something that I've already recorded. Not only can I change the pitch, but I can also change the duration or the length of a note. Okay, see what I'm doing right now? I'm dragging this pitch out. So now again, I prefer what I had over what I changed it to. So I'm moving it back and bringing it back to my original recording. Okay, so what I'd like you to do after you've recorded your 15 seconds of improvisation, I'd like you to go in and I'd like you to make at least 3 changes using the piano roll. All right. Now remember, if you save your original recording and you edit it, you can always have that saved recording as your baseline. Okay. And you can always use the undo button to change out of something that you edited. But I want to get you used to going in and using that piano roll to change things around because in projects that are ahead, when you go and you use that virtual keyboard or any other virtual instrument, there are going to be moments where you might see that you made a mistake or you might regret playing something that you've played and wish that you could make just a little tweak to it. And this piano roll function will allow you to do that in a really easy way. So that's all I have for you today on this. So again, just a very easy 15-second improvisation using 3 different pitches. Go in and make a few edits using the piano roll function. Once you make at least 3 edits using the piano roll function. So thanks so much. Happy synthesizer playing and recording, and have even more fun editing.